Hi, and welcome back. I'm Sheldon McLeod, and this is Thinking Out Loud, presented to you on the SaltWire. And I got to say, there's been, some great causes over the years that I've been very happy to help support. This one landed in my lap just the other day, and I hadn't really heard about the Strayboar Project. And look at that, Ron James will be at an event coming up at the Lunenburg Opera House. Ron James, comedian and best-selling author. Let's talk a little bit about the Strayboar Project, what it's all about, and two folks to join us. First of all, he is Seth Congdon is joining us. Good day to you, Seth. Nice to see you.
Good day, sir. How are you doing?
Fantastic. I want to hear more about this project. And also on the line from Toronto with his Maple Leafs hat is Ron James. Good day to you, sir.
Good day. As I said to you guys earlier, it might be the last time I'll wear the hat for a while. Hopefully not.
Break it up first.
Seth, why don't you take the helm here, buddy? And because he and fellow veteran Royce Robertson have been spearheading this campaign and flying under the red carpet radar, so to speak, for several years. And it's their compassion, generosity, and drive and fortitude that I've hitched my cart to. So away you go, buddy.
Yes, tell us about the Strayboar Project, if you don't mind.
Well, to kind of head back a few years, myself, Royce Roberts, and Jim Funk, were all released from the military, between 2013 and 2019. And we really it came together organically. We're all from the PPCLI, or the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry out west. We moved back to this area, and we realized that after, kind of being apart, we realized that each one of us individually was starting to use art to heal. Jim's a fantastic oil painter. I paint and I do photography. Royce is a knife maker. And we started chatting more and more as, after release happened. And we thought, this is high percentages of veterans and first responders are using art to heal. Nobody was really talking about it. And so we started our organization that was kind of, opening mental health initiatives toward veterans and first responders who'd suffered, post-traumatic stress or OSI, operational stress injury. So we started with that, about 4 years ago. Started blogging our journeys and our path to healing, and last year, just over a year ago. We saw it was developing overseas. We could see, everybody could see kind of what was happening. And we realized the rumblings in the military kind of circles that we've operated in, that people were wanting to kind of organize and get together and see if they could do something about what was going on in Ukraine right now. So.
Tell me where Strayboar comes from. Where's that terminology? What's it referring to?
Well, originally it was going to be we were going to kind of organize as a knife company. Royce was making his knives pretty regularly then, and he brought it on. He said, my knife company, I was just looking for a name, and I tossed Roberts backwards, and it was Strayboar. And I said, you know what, man, that's the way it was going to start. I kind of like the edgy persona of the warthog. So we just ended up calling it the Strayboar Project. But we kind of feel like we're wandering around a lot. It ends up that way.
So when did Ron James sign on to help out with this fundraiser?
Well, geez, about just over a year ago, I met Ron on the beach down around Nova Scotia. As good a place as any to link up, but kind of high-fived at that point, and I started following him on Instagram, and he followed me back. And then just over a year ago, when Royce and I started our first campaign in Poland, he started following it and was like, geez, boys, you know, you guys are doing good work. And then he followed us all the way along, and he ended up dropping me a message one time saying, you know what, we should link up for a beer sometime. I think we should chat next time I'm back in Nova Scotia. Just after we got back. And then I saw on Instagram that he was on his way back here, and I was like, hey, brother, hit you up for that beer at the Knot? And he said, 100%, let's do it. So we ended up having lunch, and so incredibly generously said that he would do this fundraiser for us. It chokes me up even now, just to see his immediate interest in what we were doing. And then things started falling into place since then. So
Ron James, you know, the real Ron James, not the fake ones on Instagram right now. So I'm sure you get lots of requests. I'm sure this happens a lot. People want you to help out. So why was this one a no-brainer? Why'd you say yes?
Well, the work they're doing is just selfless humanitarian generosity for people in need. And, you know, I'm down around Seth and Royce's way anyway, you know, in the summertime. And look, I turned 65 this year. And my tribe of solo acts, as I refer to comedians, we've always lent our time to charitable causes. And musicians as well, you know, whether it's a natural disaster, a big one, or small ones, or just ones that, as I say, you know, fly below the red carpet radar. And I really admired the work that Seth and Royce were doing, instead of the generosity of their own heart. It was bereft of politics. It was absolutely apolitical, nonpartisan. And, you know, as Seth said to me, he said, look, I've stepped off the Herc and shook hands with both a Liberal Prime Minister and a Conservative Prime Minister, but where the rubber hits the road is in the foxhole in the Panjwai, or in the Wales back in Afghanistan or Bosnia, where you're looking after each other. And that sense of camaraderie and a history of people in the military in my family, being an Atlantic Canadian, you know, my uncle was in the Corvette Navy at the ripe age of 21. He was protecting convoys laden with petrol and munitions bound for Russia that mustered in Bedford Basin. And so I lived with the stories of the war and the price that people pay in times of crisis. But what was really inspiring for me was sitting down and listening to Royce and Seth share some stories about being in theater. And I've told this story several times, Seth, because it's just so powerful in its imagery. Seth was in Afghanistan, and as he said, there's two colors in Afghanistan when you're up in the mountains. It's brown and dark brown, maybe light brown, but there's no color. So Seth, over to you and the bag of Skittles with the kids.
Yeah. It struck me, honestly, like at the tour that I went over in Afghanistan in 2002, you know, it was fresh for everybody there. We were flying into places. It was all air mobile, and we were flying into places that people didn't get to, you know, unless you had a helicopter. You know, there were remote villages up high in the mountains and that kind of thing. And in Bosnia, I'd always carry a couple of candies around or something like that, you know, to give to kids. You create an immediate rapport with the kids, and if you've got a rapport with the kids, the parents are you know, soon to follow. You know, you're safe. It makes you safe. And I took a bag of Skittles out of my pocket, you know, when we're patrolling through one of these villages, and it rapidly occurred to me that these kids had never seen colors before. Like, there were kids who were young enough that, like, I mean, they hadn't seen such a vibrant, you know, bunch of colors. And it it was gratifying, you know, to see the joy and the happiness and the, you know, and they started playing with them like they were things. And I popped one in my mouth and they were like, what the, you know, the taste the rainbow, you know? But at the same time, the flip side to that was just how remote and that these people really were and really are. And it's tragic.
Trying to function during times of war, trying to maintain their life. You know, I watched.
Right.
I went to Toronto Doc Festival the other day. I saw a film called 20 Days in Mariupol about an Associated Press team that got caught there during the siege, and you know, very graphic, very unsettling. But people just trying to live their lives, civilians, in the face of war, and the carnage that's been brought. Whether it was, you know, Iraqis trying to function, you know, British people trying to function during the Blitz, German people in Dresden trying to function during the bombing of that city. That war and what's been unleashed by that hairless mutant suckled on the poison totalitarian tit of Soviet mother Russia, looking to bring them back to a day when the Orwellian jackboot was on the throat of Eastern Europe, hearkening back to some long lost myth of Russian expansion and superiority, and it's imperialism in any form. Imperialism doesn't care about people. Imperialism cares about power, and power consumes itself. And what these guys are doing, and what so many are doing that we don't read about, we don't hear about, is just trying their best to alleviate the suffering of those who didn't ask for it. I mean, it's like we were talking the other day, you know, we can load up on missiles and tanks, but boy, these refugees, and how many are there? 7 million? They can't get peplum or diapers or toothbrushes. And here we are in the West. I have this phrase in one of my acts that we're so spoiled with riches, if we could walk on water, we'd complain we got our feet wet. And, you know, there's no harm in working hard, but if it's just for more, then what's it for? And I think the genuine, heartfelt simplicity of these acts of kindness that Seth and Royce and people they've met over there. How about that Korean War vet, Seth, who you met in Poland?
Honest to God, like just to back up just a little bit, when we first went to go in the beginning of April last year, it was, you know, right when the war kicked off, and we realized kind of in our own little orbits that vets were looking to get involved in trying to get into country, you know, to help somehow. And and we thought our orbit was pretty small, but shortly after hitting the ground there, and going down to the border and seeing 50,000 civilians a day coming across a day, 50,000 people a day coming across the border. At that point, an entire Nova Scotia worth of people had gone through that one area. And who knew then that there were, you know, like you said, Ron, 6 more to follow. You know, 6 more to follow. And we got down there, and the amount we realized that our global community and the orbits that are, you know, the service community that orbits out there it's huge. You know, we got down there and we see a multi-country, completely unorganized group of people show up of their own accord and on their own schedule. We met firefighters, we met doctors, we met medics, all with different arm patches on, all with different flags from all over, coming to, you know, these people are jumping from one life, like, you know, a completely disorganized and just a horrendous life, and then into an international community's arms. And we were there. We were there to catch them. And there, like Ron said, we went to one of these refugee centers, and there's an 85 mid 80s man with a Korean War veteran hat on, and he's got a thick Texas accent, and he's trying to talk to the woman who's in charge of this place, and he's using his cab driver as an interpreter, right? And he's trying to get it through to her that he owns 4 houses in Texas, and that he wants to take people from here, you know, and bring them there. He said, I can house these people, you know. And we chatted with him afterward. We stopped by, and, you know, he was just happy to speak to somebody who was English, I think. But we started chatting with him, and it occurred to us, it washed over Royce and I both at the same time. He's like, you know, did you realize that veterans and first responders are coming here completely separate and on their own, and there must be an underlying theme here. There must be, you know, of service to society, not just to your country, not just to your family, but to service to society in general, you know, regardless of borders.
Right.
Isn't that, I guess, service to society in general? That's it, bro. You know, I have friends here who work with the homeless in Toronto, right? I mean, look, come on, man. We had a mayor who couldn't turn the fucking heat on in shelters this winter. I guess he was busy doing something else. Couldn't turn the heat on. No, we'll turn it on in April. It's too late then, bro. You know,
right.
Freezing to death in cardboard mansions beneath the Gardiner Expressway. You know, all kinds of people lend a hand in times of need. And may I say too, I mean, this is just not voyeuristic heading over there to an international combat zone. This is people helping people in times of need. It's a very simple equation, because all the other bells and whistles of life is just a spoiler on a Dodge Neon. Doesn't matter. This matters, and there'll be something else. But what I admire about Seth and Royce and his pals, the first responders whom I've not met, who've wrestled with their own trauma, rather than internalize it and head back to that narcotic of war. Because if you've read Chris Hedges' War is a Force That Gives Us Meaning, a great writer, Pulitzer Prize, fired by the New York Times for speaking out against the Iraq War when everybody was indoctrinated by that the drug of patriotism, you know, that as one the refuge of the scoundrel or whatever they said. You know, he came back damaged. He came back damaged from that war, and a lot of people who do continue to sign up again because they need the hit. They need the narcotic hit of feeling more alive than ever under fire. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the case. And so, as you guys said to me, look, we could have signed up and made money. You know, there's a lot of people over there who are being paid well to fight. And
absolutely,
that's their decision. But this decision to heal from the inside out, to externalize the trauma and realize that helping each other is the way to go. Not killing each other, because, you know, I mean, I was buddies with Farley Mowat. You know, I don't have many celebrity names to drop, but I'll drop Farley's here because he was the real deal, you know. And I used to go visit him in Port Hope when I'd play that place. And he got, you know, I would ask him about the Battle of Ortona. And this was, and he said, someone wanted to make a movie of And No Bird Sang, one of the great Canadian anti-war classics, right up there with Paths of Glory as far as I'm concerned, right? And it was the guy from who did Never Cry Wolf. I forget the actor's name, but he pushed and pushed and pushed and tried to raise money. And Farley said, nobody wanted to make it. I said, why, Farley? It's beautiful. He said, because we're pro-war now.
Right.
It's all about forever war.
Right.
It's all about war. It's not about stopping it. It's about perpetuating it. And there's so many different platforms that can perpetuate it. But to step outside the dogma and the indoctrination that we've all had since we were kids, reading Sergeant Rock comic books and playing war and soldiers and building tanks and planes and all those things, you know, nobody built models of civilians without a house.
Right.
Nobody built models of orphanages. Nobody built models of trenches with bodies in them. You built models, and you were indoctrinated from an early age of the glory of war. And when I think you internalize the message of Mars, then it becomes you. And what I admire about Seth and Royce is they recognized that and said, no, man, this isn't the way to heal. This is. That's why I'm on board, because they're teaching me a lesson, I'll tell you that.
Man, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say helping the helpless, but also helping the helpers. And that's what I kind of focus on, helping the helpers. It is a fundraiser. It's coming up May 20th at the Lunenburg Opera House. You can get tickets. Tell me, Seth, what's the money for? What's this going to do? How is this helping?
Well, depending on the scope, we're acquiring a vehicle in Germany to use as an ambulance out east in the Donbass and Bakhmut region. We're going to deliver it to some friends who are already there and have been for a year. One of our friends, Brandon Mitchell, we used to be in the unit with, headed over last year.
That you're not driving all the way to Bakhmut and Donbass. It's going to be
no, sir. It's
transferred
for
very
you.
Close to the border, and I will no doubt be walking sentry duty in Poland when they do pass.
No. It's on its way there. We're going to give it to them to be able to use as an ambulance. But on the way there, in Poland, in the some of the refugee centers that we visited last year, and to a Canadian initiative in the west of Ukraine that has set up 3 orphanages for orphans from the war. Before the war, Ukraine had 700 orphanages. Now the war is on. There's far fewer. A lot of them have been destroyed, and there are way more orphans than there were then. So the need is incredible from these places. It's overwhelming the caregivers who are there now. Some of them can't get the basics to run with. I mean, how much? For one, there was a global formula shortage last year and this year.
How is that? How is there a global formula shortage? How is there, where every warlord and every demagogue in the world has access to an arsenal beyond the realm of reason? How is there a shortage of formula, man?
Another $1.2 billion, that's being sent over there again, and I mean, whatever, that it's beside the point. That's not our, as Strayboar, that's not our war anymore. We made a very conscious decision at the beginning of this. I mean, trust me, the job offers were there right from the get-go. Royce's special forces, he was a forward air controller. His skills would have brought, no less than $1,200 a day to somebody who operates that way. And he turned that down. He said, Seth, I can't do this. That's just morally not in me. And we were speaking this morning, and he's like, doing the work that we're doing. This
from a man who flirted with homelessness. Isn't this correct?
What was that? Sorry, I didn't hear you there, Ron.
Isn't he on the borderline of homelessness? I mean, Royce turned down that level of money based on human principle.
Right. He said this is what this in no uncertain terms that job. He said it wrecked me. He said the attrition rate from that job is insane. And to the people that leaves in its wake, it's terrible. And he said, dude, this morning, Royce says to me, what we're doing now profits nobody. But
right.
It profits nobody, but it ends up helping everybody. You know what I mean? It profits nobody, but it helps everybody. I thought that was such a beautiful way to put it. It's like, that's exactly it, dude. It profits no one. I mean, in fact, last year, we went well over the $10,000 mark just on our own before we put in the GoFundMe in last year's campaign. But we were there and we were able to do it, and we're like, dude, I remember halfway through, I was like, we're here right now. I'm putting my chips on the table, and he's like, yeah, dude, I don't think we can afford not to, And
that's what's
we did.
wrong with the world, isn't it? With priorities, that if it can't be monetized, it doesn't matter. Where kindness is suspect, just generosity suspect. If it can't be monetized, it doesn't matter. And you guys refute that with just by your standards alone. It's remarkable. Remarkable.
I want to thank you both for sharing, for telling us more about this. Obviously, tickets are on sale. You can go find those online. It's easy enough to click through.
You can buy it from the poster, can't you, Seth?
If you totally can. If you aim your phone at the QR code, it brings you right to the site.
And I know we've been talking seriously today, but when I hit the stage, I mean, I still got my same mandate. If the ushers aren't wiping the seats down after I'm finished, I haven't done my job. So that's what I always said to Seth and Royce. I said, what the hell am I in the mix here? And they said, oh no, man, we laughed in theater all the time when we were taking fire. I thought, well, okay, nobody's shooting at me, but I know how to deal with a heckler. So there you go.
I thank you to Seth and to Royce, who was unable to join us. Thank you for your service. I really do appreciate you sharing and telling us about this. I hope this is a tremendous success, that you achieve your mission and that you bring help to those who so desperately need it right now. And to you, Ron James, thank you for bringing this to my attention. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you, lads.
I appreciate it.
See you soon, Seth.
Cheers. Roger that.
Thanks, boys.